So I put my stand back under, getting ready to remove the tire. There ain't a lot to a combine. You guys ain't gonna believe this. We got so many parts out of it. We're almost on center, pulling down on the handle by the cab, and get the back tires off the ground with one hand. We got all the weight on the front. Well, one thing leads to another. We are going to get this clutch off. We're going to have to first loosen the traction drive belts. So I will do that. You loosen this here, right here. You just loosen it. Takes the pressure off where you lock it down. And then you've got right here, this nut here, you run it back. And that'll shove that way. So that'll take the tension off the traction drive belts. So we're at the clutch. We have the traction drive belt loose. We got to remove this, and then that should come right off of there. All right, I have slid it off, getting ready to lift it off. It literally came that easy. It wasn't too big a deal. This is interesting. We've got some metal in there, so it might be not the pressure washing. It's okay. We've got parts right over there. So we'll open this up to take a look. I am kind of not surprised at what I'm finding, because I did wash the you-know-what out of it. So it got stuck in here and rusted with this crud since I've done that. So kind of not surprised at this. Just want to let you aware of this is part of the journey, and we have other clutches available. So here we go. This separates right here. The pressure plate is this big piece right here. So just so you're aware of that. Maybe I'll get you guys up on the tripod and you can see it come apart here. Yes, good stuff. There's a bearing in there, locked up tight as can be. Here is our clutch discs, frozen into place. Okay, I turned it over, dropped it on the concrete, as you can see right down there. So somebody's been in here before, because pretty good discs need to be cleaned up. We'll probably put new ones in, but rebuilt by Genot. Rebuilt by Genot. Hopefully I had that in focus. Then there's this here between it. All that needs cleaned. Check the surfacing. You can see we were rusted to it, not surprising. There's where the water was setting. So we have nasty dust all over our hands. So there we go. That's, you wanted to know about a clutch. Somebody asked about one. So we have that. We are at the throwout bearing, which comes off. I think we found where we had our little shard of steel in the clutch pressure plate there. That was the tin housing's been machined off of the throwout bearing. So that goes back and forth. What this does, this rod on the side right here is an adjustment. Now we even lost the balls. Here, let's put her out. We're going to need some new. Look at that. We lost our balls. So, throwout bearing shot. That's where that metal came from. That's sharp as a razor right there. We got to take this bolt off. If I remember right, I'd have to check my manual. This goes all the way to the back of the transmission. When you push the clutch in, it pulls on the transmission and it stops those gears, slows them down or stops them inside the transmission so that you don't do as much transmission grinding. So here we go, continuing on into the 300. Good afternoon, YouTube. It is Sunday the 16th. Still working on, or should I say just getting back to working on the throwout bearing disassembly here. My problem lies in this rod right here. This is threaded. Had to quit, had to get new perspective because I got going too fast. I thought maybe that this had chattered on here and vibrated back and forth and mushroomed this out, but that is not the case. This is threaded. The problem I have is if I move it back, I can't get this all the way back here. There's not enough room past the transmission housing to turn it out like a crank. So I've been studying on it, getting Wildcat Willie's perspective, because two eyes, two heads are better than one sometimes. The only thing that we can think of is this fork mechanism right back here. If we take this linkage out, we will be able to move it further back, and then that will allow us probably to pick up a ½ an inch, and maybe it will crank out of here. Now I could cut this and move on. I kind of want to figure it out on this one, and then because I've damaged this and got in a hurry, I've got to get this off of the parts one. So sometimes it's better to pull back, regroup, get your train of thought, and get your patience going. It's been about maybe 2 weeks now. We had Mother's Day there. We had to do family things. Saturday I had a project with my son, and so now I'm getting back to thinking this through and going to proceed. William mentioned in his other video the doors are going to be open now, so we get a lot of backlighting. So going to start studying, and I've looked through all my manuals. 510 manuals. 540 manual is the only one that mentions it, and it says just slide a nut on there. So on the 540 it must not have been threaded. None of the other service manuals that I have mention this, what to do here. So I find this very interesting. And I've never had this problem before. I've owned a lot of 300s and I never had to change the throwout bearing. So here we go. Okay, let me clarify that one just needed a bigger hammer. I'm not used to beating things apart, so I was overthinking it a little bit. This did not help me at all, taking this linkage out. It gained me about 1/8 of an inch, and I still could not unscrew this back there. So now I was able to remove this by coming in from the back side, and it's still ornery. I got this linkage up there. As you can see, it was kind of like that. You couldn't turn it off of the throwout bearing, which is right here, and that is threaded on there. But it allowed me to get it. I should have stopped, kind of got overjoyed. This turn right there was going, it was tight. It's a tight fit, but I was able to tap on the back side of this piece of metal and it popped it through the hole. So this was, as of course, like this. Let me get it kind of set back up here. Was roughly about right there, threaded on there, and I just kind of kept tapping it being careful not to beat things apart, and it popped that through there. Now, to continue to bring it on out, you would have had to have those lock nuts, double lock nut here off, jam nuts, to bring it straight out. So I will have to I will get a new rod off the parts one because I butchered it up there in my haste. And so that problem is solved. Now it's starting to clean up and get parts machines and see what we have available. Okay, we're on the back side here of the tire because we still got the tire on the parts machine. And we're going to remove the clutch. Then we're going to go after our rod and our throwout bearing. This is a 5/8 bolt head right here. Okay, nothing goes according to plan. This has been the hardest one I've ever pulled. I had to take the bolts out of the back side of it, 6 of them. Look at all that nice rust that came out of there. And I got the front off, and I suspected that the discs were stuck on the splines, and that is the case. Still going to be retrievable parts. We will have to investigate more, but this is where we're at. This combine I've never seen run, never did run when I got it, so it's set in the barn a long time. Okay, I don't know if you can see in here. It's getting, I wouldn't say late, probably about 6 o'clock. And this one fought me every step of the way. The clutch discs, it must have got wet at some time. The clutch discs were seized to the spline shaft. I ended up getting them off, but you can see the carnage. Ground the rivets on one, cut a donut out of the other one, and sliced it. The carnage. It's not like how I like to do things, but didn't really have anything to lose. However, I am quite proud of myself. We only got one, I don't know if you can see it there or not. Let me focus you in. One little nick, which could be dressed with a file because I intend to take this transmission out and keep it on the shelf in case I ever need one. So now we are back to going after this rod right here. All of this work for this. Now this one still has the spring on back here. So if you're going to do this, you got to take your spring off. I will do that now. And we're going to need that little fella because we were missing ours. Doing this one-handed. So, wow, we have a spring. Now you can see my dilemma right there with the issue. However, I had to, don't know if you can see that rod moving. Let's see here. We're going to have to get that off of the tranny, just like the last one, get it turned, and then just knock that back because this is threaded and we don't want to damage it. Okay, this would be an even more miserable job if we had the grain pan in. Luckily this is the parts machine. So we have to get this off. I think those nuts would slide past. I don't know exactly yet, But if we get that bracket off of there, then we can get our jam nuts off and then be able to pull it through the front side. We have this off now, where we can now get these jam nuts off. Throwout bearing is what we're after. This is threaded, and this is going to come through here. It's bent upwards, but it will come. The last one did off camera. I wanted to do this to show you how I got past this dilemma that I've been thinking about. Voila! There it is. Everything we've been working for. Now I will tell you that that is frustrating. Right there it is. Comes through. But these threads on those jam nuts and where that was are all gnarled up. So I'm probably still going to make a new rod to mimic this rod, but I think I'm going with coarse threads. I hate these fine threads. Might not be able to get away with it here. But here we are. We have it now. So this is going to conclude clutch pulling part 1. We have carnage laying everywhere. We have to clean up the shop, get focused back on repairing instead of destroying. So you've been along for the adventure. You see what it takes to tear into these old machines. Thank you for subscribing. Like, share, subscribe, and we will keep bringing you along.